Hey, everyone out there in MetalAsylum.net world, we're really honored. This is Rich, Catino, and Jack Mangan. We are really, really honored today to talk to really just a living legend in the guitar and metal and hard rock world. No further ado. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Richie Kotzen.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for coming on, Richie. Happy to have you on. So the first question that I have is, how did you and Adrian Smith from Iron Maiden meet and get this musical connection going?
Well, it was many, many years ago. I used to hang out at a spot in West Hollywood called the Whiskey Bar. And it was at the Sunset Marquis, which is a small, it's a small hotel. But back in the 90s, that place was just, the coolest spot. And it was all, musicians, all the guys we know in all the bands would go there and hang out and mingle. And after a while, it kind of died off. It wasn't the same. So many years after that, it was outside the 90s, somewhere in the 2000s, early 2000s, I guess. I was out with a friend, and we were looking for something to do. And I said, well, let's stop by the Whiskey Bar, see if anyone's in there. And went in, and there was a woman in there. We started talking to her, and one thing led to another. And my friend mentioned that I was a guitar player and that I was pretty well known in certain circles. And then she said, well, my husband is Adrian Smith. And I got, like a fan instantly, because I grew up listening to Iron Maiden. When I was very young, I would go to school and I wore either one of two shirts, Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast, or a Black Sabbath shirt. Mm-hmm. And so then I was asking her a million questions about Adrian. And she said, well, he's going to be in town. So when he comes to town, I'll make sure you get to meet him. And so I obviously got to meet Adrian. And, as time went on, we became friends. Our wives became friends. And it became like this, like little family kind of vibe. Every time they would come to California, we'd get together. They have a house not far from where I live. And so they would have holiday get-togethers, and we'd go into the music room and jam, play covers. Different people would be there. Each year would be some different, guest that would come in and jam with us. And so one thing led to another. In a more recent time, someone said, probably either Julia or Natalie or somebody said, hey, you guys should try to write a song together. And so we did. We got together, and I think the first thing that we did was that song Running. I think that was the first thing that we put together. And, from there, now obviously we got this record, and here we are.
Great story.
Yeah, wow. And so I'll actually tag on to that one. Can you tell us a little bit about the writing, the collaboration process, how you guys would come together and write songs? Was it just jams, or did you guys send each other riffs? How would that work out?
Well, we had the luxury of being together. This was not a COVID record, where you have to be isolated and send files back and forth. We actually, I do, before I talk about that directly, I want to say, the whole record was done before any of this pandemic nightmare started. And so our plans, now thankfully half of our plan actually stuck, but the full plan was to release March 2021 so that we could tour in April. And so now obviously, the touring thing got messed up, but the release plan stuck, so we're happy for that. So, the plan all along here, somewhere along the line, is to play live. But we got the release date, and that was the original plan. We were together, and, Adrian would bring in a riff, or I'd bring in a riff, and then, the other person would respond to it. I'll tell you a fun story of how Taking My Chances was written. And this is the only song that was written this way. All the other ones were more of a normal, each guy had a guitar, back and forth, trading ideas. But with Taking My Chances, Adrian brought that riff in, which to me is just a monster riff. And I heard that and I said, we gotta work on that. That's got to be turn into a song somehow. So I had the drums, everything was mic'd up and ready to go. I said, let's try an experiment. Let me go behind the drums. I'll put a click track on so I stay on the tempo. And I'm just going to jam with you as if we were two guys in a garage somewhere messing around, like kids. And I'm going to record it. So you play the riff, I'll play a beat, and then I'm going to go different places. I'm going to play something different, something for a chorus, something for a bridge, a middle section. And you do whatever you hear, whatever you think. But I'll always come back to that riff, and then we know, that's back to the riff. So I did that for about 5 or 6 minutes till I got tired, and wore myself out on the kit. And then I came in the control room and started cutting, slicing and dicing, and came up with a form. And that's how the song was born. And I thought that was kind of interesting because some of the pieces are actually on the album that were just out of that jam. So that was the only thing that I would consider calling a jam that turned into a song. But I never did that before, so I thought that was kind of interesting. I mean, I actually did that before on my own. On my last record, on 50 for 50, there's a couple songs that I had in my head, and I didn't bother, making a guide template for it. I literally put a click up and went into the tracking room and laid down the drum track, and I was basically playing to the band that existed in my head. And there are songs like that on the record that happened, but I never did that way with anybody else, where I got behind the drums and improvised and turned it into a song.
Interesting. So how did you and Adrian split up the lead vocals for the 9 songs?
That kind of handled itself, believe it or not. It was I almost want to say it was like if a guy thought of it or had the idea for the melody, then he would sing it. I mean, I really feel like the majority of it, if you want to keep talking about taking my chances, for example, like that verse, he came up with that. So, so it made sense for him to sing it. Now, not all the songs were like that. I know, like with Glory Road, for example, I'm pretty sure he had that concept. All these, you have to have a concept, and so he had a concept for Glory Road, and a lot of that melody, he had that in his head. So I took it and sang it. On the flip side, Running, he had the riff, and then I had the idea for a bit of that melody, and so we both of us sing the melody. So, there's exceptions to every rule, but in general, songs like Taking My Chances, Scars, if you thought of it, you just go ahead and sing it. I think that was really most of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard, I got to be honest, it's so hard to go back and dissect. It almost doesn't matter to me. It's like dissect, it's us together. It's 50-50. We just did it together.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Go ahead, John.
Well, I also love the soulful guitar solos, and that's great stuff. But that's not my question. My question is actually about the bass. I understand you guys both play the bass. The bass parts are so great on this record. It's funny. I know you guys have worked with some decent bass players in your careers. I say that as a joke. I mean, Steve Harris, Stanley Clark. So talk to me a little bit about how the bass parts came together between you guys.
Well, bass is a big part of my life. I mean, honestly, I don't want to get myself in trouble, but, I look at the bass playing as the same way I look at my guitar playing, and I take it very seriously. And I've always gravitated towards the bass, from listening to Stevie Wonder when I was a kid, Bootsy Collins, Larry Graham. I'm a serious guy when it comes to bass, and I had the privilege of being in bands with some of the greatest bass players in multiple genres, whether you're talking about Billy Sheehan, Stanley Clark. I mean, both those guys are, legends in totally different styles of music. And then some of the other guys I play, I don't want to name drop, but there's a lot of great bass players. So I've been around great bass players my whole life, and so has Adrian. So when we were writing, oftentimes, one of us would say, I hear this kind of line. Where's the bass? Let me try something. And then, you know what I mean? Like grab the bass and and start, messing around with some ideas. And the record just evolved that way. It wasn't like we were two little bratty kids that said, we don't want anyone on here. It came together where one day we're listening to Scars, and it's like, dude, this sounds finished. There's nothing more to do. And we're digging it, Well, I guess the question's answered. Who's playing drums? Well, on this song, it's Richie. But then, like on the flip side, we got to that Solar Fire song, and we're like, man, this song needs something different. It just needs another perspective. And he had the idea of Nico, and he just took that and killed it. I mean, he just made it a monster track with, he has a whole other, arsenal of facility as a drummer. So he just brought it to life. And, Tal Bergman's on the record. And Tal's one of those guys, he comes in the studio, and if you play him a song, he don't even want you to say nothing. So let me listen to it. So you play the song, maybe you got a guide track, you got a drum machine there, and some vocals, some scratch guitar. And he'd sit there with a piece of paper and a pencil for about, 15 minutes. Okay, I got it. Let's go. And he goes in the studio. One take, bang, there's the fucking take. And maybe come back, hey, let me fix something in the bridge. I don't like what I did, and fixes it. And so those are the kind of guys I like to work with, guys that's going to bring something to the table that we wouldn't be able to do on our own.
Great. Okay. Was it hard for you to write music with Adrian and make it different from your solo songs and with the Winery Dogs? Was it complicated for you to write a different project without it being too bluesy or similar to what you previously do?
Well, something I never think about. And what I do when I work with someone and I write with them, because I've written with people before, I let the energy that's in the room dictate the style, the direction. So, I've never been a wet blanket guy. I've been around these guys where you have an idea for a song, and then out of nowhere, they'll start singing another song from 35 years ago that everybody forgot about that's similar in some crazy way to what you're doing, and that just kills the creativity. It's like, look, we're all dealing with the same, we're all drinking out of the same fucking fountain here. So at a certain point, you're going to have some things that are similar. But I don't do that. I just let it take its course, and it's going to sound like what it's going to sound like. What I worry about, or not worry about, but what is a prerogative or priority or whatever the word is, I concern myself with, do I like it? And in the end, if I'm listening to this thing and I went from being a creator of a musical composition to a fan of the musical composition, then I know we got something special. That's my only way I can judge it, because everything else is meaningless. Either you like it or you don't. And so what happened with Adrian and I, we got excited with the process and decided, hey, we got a possibility of a record here. And there's some fun, cool, interesting stuff here, the kind of stuff we'd like to get on stage and play live. And so that's the thing you worry about. I don't worry that, that song sounds like a song that I wrote 10 years ago. I mean, you can draw those parallels, but, people are people. Adrian has a style and a sound. So whatever he does, no matter who he works with, there's still going to be an Adrian Smith element to what he's doing. Same thing for me. So if you listen to me and something that I was involved in writing with, whether it's Stand from Poison, or whether it's Elevate from the Winery Dogs, or whether it's Solar Fire with Smith Kotzen, they're all different songs, but you're going to be able to find a common thread there, because I'm still one of the components involved in making the song.
Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead, Jack.
Cool. Well, I got two questions. Let's see if I have time for them. But the first one is, I have to know.
You got plenty of
start.
time. Don't worry about it. I got nowhere to go.
Excellent. So is this the start of something, that's going to go on forever between you guys? Or are there going to be more Smith Kotzen albums?
You know what? I would like to do some more writing with Adrian, and I think he would like to do some more writing. And, the album gets dictated by the song. If you have material that you feel is worth sharing, then, you have the potential for an album. So, in theory, I would say absolutely. It would be great to be able to do it again. I've said this before. It's one of the easiest albums I ever made. You know, it just almost made itself. It was, you know, really a great process. So there would be no reason, you know, if Adrian wanted to do it, you know, there would be no reason to not do it, you know. I mean, all these things come down to scheduling. I mean, you know, I'd like to make another record with Billy Sheen and Mike Portnoy. I'd like to make another Winery Dog record at some point. But this all comes down to scheduling, and unfortunately, COVID, you know, just fucked everything up because, you know, to make a Winery Dog record, we have to be in the room together, the three of us, you know. So, you know, I'm not willing to get on an airplane anytime soon. I'm just not. So we got to wait and see. But, you know, with Adrian, I would imagine, yeah, you know, he's going to come back to L.A. at some point, spend some time in Malibu. You know, we'll get together and write some songs.
Okay.
Cool.
So what are you and Adrian playing on the album? Your amps, your guitars, pedals, what have you? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure can. I play in my signature model Fenders. I got the Telecaster. It's been in production since 1996. White Stratocaster. I got a red one now too. So I've got a signature model Strat and a signature model Telecaster. Those are my main guitars. So you see me all the videos I do or live concerts. I'm playing either one of those instruments. I got a couple other color variations that they made for me, special for me, but that's what I play. And I did do something kind of fun on this record. There's a song on there called I Want to Stay. And I think I did this on 2 songs. Towards the end of the recording, Adrian had his guitar all mic'd up and it had a great sound going. I said, hey, do you mind if I just do a solo on your guitar? And he said, no problem. So he had this Jackson with a lock and tremolo system. And I played that, and it took me back to my teenage years, because when I was a teenager, I used to have a locking system on the guitar. I abandoned those years ago because they were such a pain in the ass to keep in tune. You know, once they were in tune, they stayed in tune, but mine were floating. So, you know, you take the strings off, and it was like a nightmare to get it to go back. But he had his set up real nice, so I played it. And it's funny because if you listen to that solo, it sounds like, you know, 18-year-old Richie came back from the Shrapnel Records days and did a solo. So that was a fun, you know, thing for me to do, fun to listen to. But other than that moment, all the guitars I played are my my signature model Fenders. And then on the amp, I've got a signature model. Listen to me with all my signature model stuff. I've got a signature model head from Victory, 100-watt head, and that's a monster. It's kind of designed along the lines of like the older Marshall 4-input plexiglass heads, but it has a few other features that make it a little unique. And so I have that, and then I have another amp from them that's more of a high gain amp that I use on a few things. So Victory amps, Fender guitars, and then for the pedals, I just use that Fly Rig from Tech 21, which is, again, another signature product. The I think it's an RK5, Richie Kotzen Fly Rig. It's a multi-effect pedal, but it's an analog multi-effect pedal, so it's real simple to use. You don't have to learn, you know, any programming tricks, you know, and it sounds great. So that's really my system. And then we recorded on Pro Tools.
Okay. Jack?
All right, great. So, I mean, I'm back to the album a little bit. You know, I feel like there are a couple of instant classics here. You know, You Don't Know Me, I think, is one, Till Tomorrow. But, of course, Scar's got to be the song of the year so far. It's just such a great piece of music. Can you tell us, to tell people when they're like, when people say, hey, what is the song about? Tell people, you know, just lyrically and even just tonally, what's the song for you trying to go for there?
Well, you know, that's sure, man. That song has a very, I call it like a mysterious kind of feeling to it. It's an emotional sounding song. You know, I remember when we wrote it, you know, I knew it was something special, you know, just the feel of it. You know, lyrically, here's the thing about lyrics, and I've always been this way. Everything to me, when it comes to songs, you got to have something to sing. So lyrics are important. You know, probably the most important thing, because without the lyric and the melody, you don't have a song. So, but the thing for me in lyrics you can listen to and you can read them and you can interpret them. So when you hear a song, I want the person hearing the song to have a picture in their mind and have it mean something to them. So, I mean, I could sit here and read the lyrics to you and dissect every aspect of it and this and that. And there's going to be somebody out there that hears a song that had a different perspective. And now that becomes convoluted or twisted. So as far as talking about the lyrics, it's something that folks, they're printed out in the record. I would suggest when people get this thing, get the vinyl, because it's just so nice to have. You can see everything properly. And, they're all printed out there. They can see lyrics. But I do think that song has something special about it. And you never know why that happens. You write things, and there's always these tracks that just kind of come together. A lot of times it does have everything to do with the lyric, but it has to do with how the lyric is sung and how it's hitting the chords, the chord changes. Certain words are sung in a certain way that create an emotion. And a different guy could sing the same lyric, and it wouldn't affect you the same way. You understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's why a singer like Bob Dylan or Tom Petty can be so powerful versus a singer that has, those acrobatic skills. Well, after a while, you listen to him sing and your mind goes numb, and you're not moved by any of it. So a good example of me, like Bob Seger is one of my favorites. He has these lyrics that are just great stories, but the way he says it and the way he hits the vowel sounds against the chord at the right time and where that sits in the pocket of the time, those are all the things I think that make songs unique and special. And I think with Scars, particularly, we hit something interesting on that, and we kind of got into that world a little bit on that song.
Great.
Okay. Until you're able to play live, do you think you guys might do something virtually over the next year?
It's come up here and there. I don't want to say what I really think and then end up doing it one day and then people are misreading something, but, I'll say it anyway. I think the beauty of live is a relationship between the audience and the performer. And so that's what makes a live show so magical, is when you have that great audience that's engaged and interested in what you're doing, and then you feel that energy and you can respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, we could go down to the rehearsal room and set up and get a couple guys in there and play. We could do that. But in a weird way, I really want this thing. I want to have that feeling that the first time I get on stage and actually perform this, I really want it to be in a room. I mean, it doesn't have to be a big room either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It could be the Whiskey or the Viper room, but a room full of people. You know what I mean? Like that's
absolutely.
That's what I want to do. I mean, and all year I've had emails coming in. Richie, to do this virtual, you can do that, do this, and I just couldn't bring myself to get it. You got to be excited. I just couldn't get the excitement. I mean, I did a couple music videos. That was fun. That was more fun for me to do. But to actually get the guitar and film myself singing, maybe just acoustically it'd be easier. Maybe I could do that. I don't know. For the band thing, for a rock and roll thing, I really want to play live. I'd rather just sit. I waited this long.
Right.
I might as well wait it out a little longer and do it the right way.
Okay. Jack?
Yeah, I hear you. So, I mean, well, I know that, as you said, I mean, COVID has fucked everything up for everybody, but, what are your plans for 2021 in promotion of this album and, whatever else you have?
Hey, man, I learned a hard lesson, and so did we all, about plans. I mean, look, on February 3rd, I turned 50 years old. I released an album that I was so excited about. It's probably, one of my best solo albums I ever did. Probably the best one I ever did. Best solo record I've done. And I was all excited. I got 4 continents worth of shows booked, literally. You know, we had Europe, North America, South America, Japan, and I was ready to go and making plans. I even formed a new company, new corporation for it. And then all of a sudden, plug got pulled. There you go. You're staying home for a year. So, look, we got a great record here with the Smith Kotzen. It's something that I'm really proud of. It reminds me of one of those classic records that I would have heard when I was a kid. You know, would have had it in my collection and played it a lot. So, what we can do is what we've done. You know, we made a couple of visual things to go. Got the video for Scars, taking my chances. Maybe we'll do one more before this thing comes out. So that we can do, you know, talking about the record like I'm doing with you guys. You know, I enjoy that, you know, giving some insight on how we did it. And that, you know, what else can we really do? And, you know, wait, see. I've been writing again, and I've got a couple of songs that I wrote that are very different from anything I've ever done, actually. I played a song last night for my wife, Julia, that I just finished. And she said, wow, I never heard you do anything like that ever. I've never heard anything like that come out of this room. You know, what are you on? She said. So, you know, we'll see. I'm going to just take my time. I almost said I'm going to take my chances, but that would have been ridiculous. I'm going to take my time, let things fall where they may, you know, and hope that we're on stage here sometime before we know it.
Okay. I got one more question. Can I give you one more?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you were working on Adrian, did you guys try to avoid from it sounding or getting into like something that sounded more metal, or did you guys wanted to go for what you went for, given your histories?
You know, we just let it go where it took us. That's the best way I could say it, because anytime you're writing, and it's what I spoke about earlier with the wet blanket, you know, anytime you're working on something, you know, let it evolve. And then, you know, in the end, if it evolves into something that's outside the scope of what you think you want to be associated with, then you don't have to put it out. But I like the idea of letting things evolve. So, you know, this record really went down that path of, you know, let it be what it is. And if it doesn't work, we won't use it. You know, you don't have to use it. You don't have to release it if for some reason you think it sounds to this or to that, whatever it may be. But I think what really happened on this record is our influences and our, you know, admiration for each other, camaraderie, whatever you want to call it. I think it all just kind of connected. And I think we ended up with something that is really true, honest. There's nothing pretentious about this album. It's, like I said, the best way I can describe it, and even saying it makes me feel very satisfied. It reminds me of one of those records that I would have had in my collection back when I had a vinyl collection, when I was, you know, had a record player or, you know, cassette player. And, you know, I've had the Maiden records, the Sabbath records, Scorpions, all those classic rock records that I listened to as a teenager. This reminds me of something like that. And it's very authentic, in my opinion. I think it's a special record. I think it's very special for those reasons.
Yeah, it's a great collaboration. It's a very cohesive album. I think it's great.
Thank you.
Jack, anything before we let him go? One last one, or?
Yeah, I mean, I realize, like I said, we want to be respectful of your time and all, but I just want to say, you know, thanks so much. Congratulations on an incredible career. You know, and you know, the work you do actually with the gear and stuff, that's just great stuff. I love Fender too, so it's great to see you kind of be a great ambassador for Fender. Congratulations just on the great new album, and just, you know, best of luck to everything you got going forward. We look forward to seeing you live.
Hopefully, we'll see you guys live.
Awesome, and thanks for having me on your show. And absolutely want to play live. I hope to meet you guys at one of these concerts one day.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely look forward to it.
All right.
All right, thanks, Jack.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Ricky.
Have a great day.